Good morning, afternoon or evening to you wherever you are. My name is Jo Hanna Pearce and I'm a senior engineer with the NX Cloud team here at Narwhal. I'm going to take you on a live coding tour using NX and NX Cloud. There will be a few edits here and there due to the magic and mystery of trying to record this in a home where there is an occasionally noisy cat, but most of what you see should be real time. So without further ado, let's take a look at the monorepo that we'll be using. Now, this is a fairly basic repo that I've generated that has two apps. Each app has a dependency on 5 libraries, and each library has a dependency on another 10 child libraries, giving us a total of 112 projects. Now, the projects themselves aren't particularly complex, so when we build the root applications, there isn't actually a lot for it to do. But this gives us some long-running lint and test targets, which is what I want for demonstration purposes. I've got the first runs for both the lint and test targets saved in NX Cloud here. So let's take a look at the test run. Here we go. You can see this was a success, which is great. But it also took about 23 minutes to complete, even though you can see here that I was running 3 tasks in parallel. We can see the individual results for each of the tasks in this run. And each of these was a cache miss, which we'd expect for a first run. And now this is super helpful, of course, because you can share this run detail link with anyone in your organization and come back to it far more easily than scrolling back through your terminal output. Now, since NX comes with computation caching built in, if I copy that task from here and run it again locally, yeah, it now runs pretty much instantaneously, which is great. We can load up the run details for that very brief run. And see now that all of the tasks are showing as a local cache hit. Now let's go back to the original run detail view just to see the original timings. Now, while each of these test runs was extremely short, some less than 10 seconds here, when you have a large repo with lots of projects, running everything pre-cached is going to become a real-time sync. But we're still on the ground here, and while the run detail view is a super useful tool, it's only the beginning of what we can do in NX Cloud. So let's move on to the pre-flight checks, shall we? So far, we've only really demonstrated that the NX local caching is working as expected. This is great, but what about your colleagues? Let me check out my specially made branch for demoing this, helpfully called Distributed Cache Demo. Now, I've made a small change to one of the libraries in this branch, and I'm not going to want or need to run all the tests again, so let's just run the affected ones. Great, that only seems to be running the test target for the 4 projects that I expected, the one I changed, and the other 3 that depend on that project. Now, I've got this repo checked out somewhere else as well to simulate how a colleague would see it. So once this finishes, let's take a look there in my helpfully named NX large repo copy folder in this other terminal window. Let's wait for this to complete first. Perfect, that's finished. Okay, let's take a look at the copy folder. Now, if we run affected here too, we should see the same 4 projects being run, but this time probably should have done with their results being pulled from NX Cloud. And the moment of truth. And now that's curious. It's running the target test for those 4 projects that I expect, but it seems to be running from scratch. So there's something different here. Okay, well let's wait for this to finish, and then we can investigate that. So what happened here? We had to run those tests entirely from scratch when we expected to see a cache hit. So let's look into that. Let's take a look at this run. When we come across a situation like this where we expected a cache hit, but actually we've got a cache miss, like here, we can dig into this and we can compare this to a similar task. Now, if I grab the run ID, the run link from that first run, I can use that as a comparison in here. In this case, we can see that the hash generated for the library we changed is actually different. So this app0, lib0, child lib0, the hash here is actually different. Now that means that the code in those libraries must be different. Yeah. So maybe we're just not up to date. Let's go back to that terminal. What if we do a git fetch? We're one behind. Okay. Let's get ourselves up to date and let's try and rerun that. Now we can see that run completed almost instantly. And it tells us it pulled all the results from NXCloud. If we look at the run detail view for that, all green. And we can see each task was actually showing a remote cache hit in this case. So this is great. We can share successful run results, including the terminal output and generated artifacts with any of our colleagues. Anyone with access to the repository, in fact, which will generally also include our CI service. This means not only can we save developer time, but also CI time. So let's take off into the cloud and set up a naive CI workflow. I've got a branch already with the naive CI workflow. So let's check that out. And let's go take a look. I'm using GitHub, so all I need to add here was a YAML file in the GitHub Workflows folder. I'm not a huge fan of YAML, but I do think this file is surprisingly easy to read. Now we want to perform this workflow on a push to main and on any pull request. This little bit here cancels any in-progress workflows when we push new changes, which can be handy to save compute power. Now in the main job, we check out the repo to a depth of 0 so that NX affected can actually find the base commit ID. This could probably be smarter, but it's a small repo and we're doing a naive implementation here. The next bit uses a custom NX action. It's narwhal NX set SHAs. Now this does some simple investigation to find out the last commit with a successful workflow, because we don't really want to compare against a commit where the workflow failed. Such a thing is always possible. It then sets environment variables that can be used by NX affected later. Then we set up Node, we do our npm CI install, check some formatting of the workspace files, and finally we get to our lint test build triptych. We run each of these tasks in sequence and then we're done. Now I've already created the pull request for this change, so what does that look like? Here you go. everything green, which is always a good sign. Now you can see here I've installed the free GitHub integration for NXCloud, which has given us a report and a link to where we can see more information about the runs that happened on this branch. So let's take a look. The branch name being used here has been picked up from the pull request ID, which in this case is the number 4. We could override this by setting an environment variable in the workflow, but I'm going to leave it like this. Now you can see the overall run group was super quick because we had all those runs cached prior to CI needing to do anything. You can also see by this Gantt chart that each of the tasks was run sequentially, with some gaps accounting for overhead in spinning up each job. You don't need to use GitHub or the GitHub integration to get here. Now if we look at the main workspace dashboard, you can see all the recent runs here are listed with links through to the branches that they were run against in CI. We can also see here some stats about weekly runs, average runtime, whether or not the integration is connected. And down at the bottom here you can see how much of the free 500 per hours per month coupon I've used, and that's currently sitting at 2%. We can look into that a bit more on the billing page. Now I'm not really using this workspace a great deal. We can see that I'm on track to use about 10 hours this month, which is well within the free tier. We actually believe that 500 hours of the free tier will be plenty of time for most workspaces, although we do offer additional coupons or subscriptions for anyone who finds that they regularly go over. For super heavy users or folks who want more control over their data, we do also offer an on-premises solution in NX Private Cloud. It works in very much the same way, and there's more information about that on the site. So, while this page shows you how much you've used the service, let's just have a quick look at the time saved graphs. Now, over the last 7 days, you can see that in CI, almost all of the time taken is time saved. And that's because we haven't actually run any of the tasks in CI yet, or at least not many of them, because they were cached initially on my local machine. Now, if I opt to look at all stats, which includes any local runs, you can see the actual runtime has leapt up, taking into account all that local runtime. Now, if I were to rerun that CI job, I'd see the time saved go up again, unless we start caching node modules between runs, of course, and then it would reduce to using that local cache. So let's go back to the run group. Now, this is fast, but it's all in sequence. We've also relied entirely on the fact that a dev has run all the affected tasks before creating that pull request. If these tasks had to be run for the first time in CI, this PR could take 15, maybe 30 minutes to merge. That's not ideal. So how can we improve that? It's time to switch on the Afterburners.
T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Again, I've got a branch already with the workflow, so let's take a look at that. NXCloud provides easy to set up distributed task execution. This means that NXCloud can take any task graph and distribute it appropriately across multiple agents in CI. NX understands all the dependencies between your targets, so you can run your lint, test, build triptych all in parallel and not worry about the order. Here we can see how different that is to set up, and it's a lot shorter. The main job here uses a custom NXCloud action. It just takes these two simple arguments, parallel commands and parallel commands on agents. The basic workspace lint and check format check that we want to run prior to everything else, we'll run those in parallel. But lint, test and build, we want to farm out to the agents. And this is all we have to do. And then to define the agents, we just use another custom NX Cloud action down here. All we have to specify here is the number of agents we want. So let's start off with 3. Now, if this was the only change that we made, this would take a similar amount of time to the sequential case that we just saw, because everything is still cached. So I made a small change to every single component in the repo. There are about 1,000 of them, to force a rerun of every test. So let's see what happens when I push that change. Let's go back to that pull request, which is here. Now this is going to take a little time to initialize the orchestrator and the agents, but here we can see again that there's a link from the GitHub integration to the branch page showing that run group. So let's take a look and see how it's going. Now you can see a visualization here of how many agents we have running and the utilization of each. We can see what tasks they're currently running, and we can also take a look at what tasks they've already completed. Now if we hover over the active tasks in the run group progress card, we can also see an indication of which agents are actually running the tasks for that particular run. And when the run group is finally finished, we can see some stats on how many tasks each agent completed and what the overall utilization of each was like. We've got fairly high utilization here, which is great. Our Gantt chart down here teases us that there is a still faster theoretical duration for this run group, which is somewhere around the 2.5 minutes mark, or just over 2 minutes, because that's the longest running task that it found. If we keep adding agents, we might eventually be able to get close to that time, but there are trade-offs there, of course, in terms of utilization and potentially cost. So we've set up our repo. I've shown you shareable run detail views, how to compare tasks which you thought were similar but actually aren't, how to set up a simple CI workflow, and how NX Cloud can help you keep track of your compute time, and finally distributed task execution, which can help you reduce your CI waiting times considerably. All these features are available in our free tier, and we think most people should find 500 free hours a month more than enough. For heavy enterprise users, there's NX Private Cloud, and you can find out more about that through the website. I hope this has been useful and informative for you all. Happy NX Clouding, folks.